My next guests say nothing should be off the table. Joining me now, Representatives Heath Shuler. He is a Democrat from North Carolina, and Jeff Fortenberry, a Republican from Nebraska. Both are among 100 congressmen recommending slashing the deficit by $4 trillion without any sacred cows. And they join us now. Congressman, thanks for joining us. Congressman Fortenberry, should taxes be on the table?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us both on. I think this is a very important statement that we're both making, and many members on both sides of the aisle, that it's time to be bold, it's time to show strong leadership. I believe if the spirit of the letter that we sent to the Joint Committee were enacted, it would unleash the potential in the American economy. Entrepreneurs would have confidence, they'd create jobs, and America would have to stop standing at the doorstep of the world for excessive borrowing. So I think that because the government has grown so substantially in the last 10 years, it's about doubled in size, it has to be about substantially reducing spending. But I think also the right type of tax reform that collected reasonable revenues in a fair manner that were good for the economy would also be an important element here to come up with the right type of package that, again, stimulates the economy and gets people back to work.
All right. Well, personally, I don't think the government deserves another dime more than they're getting right now. So I don't think they need extra revenues. They should do with what they have. But, Congressman Shuler, there are tax reforms that maybe everybody could agree on. And, in fact, we had Alice Rivlin, a Democrat, on yesterday. She's a member of the Debt Commission panel. Here's what she said about tax reform that she likes. When you talk about tax reform, what you're talking about is simplifying the tax code and lowering rates in order to extend the base. Are you still in favor of that idea?
That's absolutely right, and we all talked about that yesterday. And I think there is room for bipartisan compromise there.
So, Congressman Shuler, would you be in favor of that? Basically, the Simpson-Bowles rule of lowering tax rates in order to widen the base. Maybe you'll get more money doing that, but is that what you like?
I couldn't agree more. I think it's been said throughout the Congress, and so many of the nonpartisan groups have said if we will broaden the base, lower the rates, we'll have the revenues as necessary to put us on a sustainable path, unlike the path that we're on right now, that we can't sustain the path that we're on. We don't have the revenues, and we're spending way too much money here in Washington.
Well, Congressman Shuler, why can't you get your president? He's a member of the Democratic Party. Why can't you get him to agree to that? Because so far, he still talks about raising tax rates on the rich.
Well, I have 60 Dems in the House right now. The Gang of Six has put together collectively 45 members in the Senate. We have 100 collectively. That number is going up every single day. We are not only sending a message to our colleagues, but we're trying to send a message throughout the world that America has to be responsible for our spending. We have to be responsible for the revenues that we collect and put us on a more sustainable path in order to get our economy back moving again and let the entire world, because they are watching, we want this global economy to grow, and America has to be at the forefront of that.
But, Congressman Shuler, I'm going to put it to you again. Why don't you say directly to the president right now, right here, Mr. President, come with us on lowering the tax rates and broadening the base?
If he was standing here today, I would say, let's lower the tax rate, broaden the base. A president, I would think, would agree with that. And I think that's part of it. Let's put him in that situation to make that, and let's get other Republicans and other Democrats to join with this bipartisan group of 100 members in the House, 45 in the Senate, and let's put it on the House floor, and let's vote on it. Let's put it on the Senate vote, and let's put him in that situation to actually vote up or down.
Congressman Fortenberry, what about that? Why isn't the president? He's the one who impaneled that commission that said lower the tax rates in the first place.
Well, he ignored his own deficit reduction commission, that's true, but we're a separate body, and we've got a responsibility to act here. And there's a group of members who have looked at this and said, you know what, let's strike for something big. I think if we do this, confidence would increase. Again, because the size of government has basically doubled in 10 years, this has to substantially be about reducing spending. But if you also had the opportunity to look at tax reform and potentially broaden the base, getting rid of some of the loopholes and exclusions that don't pass a straight face test, frankly, you could potentially lower rates, help increase revenues by stimulating the economy, and that's ultimately what this is about. Empowering small business entrepreneurs, getting America out of debt, getting us on a sustainable trajectory of spending, and creating a boom for our economy. That's why everyone is interested in doing this, trying to get a bit out of our political lanes, taking some risk here, and I think it's an important statement by this body, which is a separate institution from the president.
Congressman Fortenberry, I just want to get you on record here. You are against raising tax rates, correct?
I don't want to raise taxes on any hardworking American, but that's not what this letter says. We're putting revenues on the table, but also all other programs, so that you are empowering this committee to take a look at how potentially we reform the tax code that could collect a reasonable amount of revenues in a fair manner that's good for the economy. If it's good for the economy, it will create jobs that will help.
But I don't want to
revenue.
mix, Congressman Fortenberry, I don't want to mix revenue with rates. You are specifically, I know you're for increasing a little revenue, but you are specifically against raising any tax rates, correct?
What I am for is the right types of tax code that will be beneficial to the economy. I don't want to raise rates on any hardworking America, but when you look at this tax code and you look at GE, for example, that paid no taxes this year because they can hire an army of lawyers and accountants to manipulate or actually take advantage of the tax code, that pushes the burden of taxation to small business owners and others, and I think that's unfair. So I think the right type of tax reform could actually broaden this base, maybe even lower rates, and be good for the economy.
A very pro-growth tax reform.
Okay, very quickly, guys, if the president was to veto something you brought to his table about lowering tax rates, broadening the base, are there enough votes to override that veto? To you, Congressman Shuler.
Well, I certainly hope it doesn't get to that point, because if we have a bipartisan group that has compromised both in the House and in the Senate, I don't think that that would force his hand to actually vote for it. And I think that would tell the whole world that we're ready to act and act immediately.
Got to be the last word. Congressman Heath Shuler, Congressman Jeff Fortenberry, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having us on.
Pleasure being with you.